Kazutaka Kodaka, the creative force behind one of the most influential, or cringe depending on your opinion, visual novels, Danganronpa. Kotaro Uchikoshi, the creative force behind a game I've only ever heard good things about, Zero Escape, and the mastermind behind the comedically confusing I, the Somnium Files.
Yeah, chicks love to see creepy old men hanging out with a sixth grader.
Hey! When you bring these two together, what kind of absurdly ambitious game can you imagine being brought forth? No, not that one. The 100 Line, Last Defense Academy, is what you get. A game that has to not only carry the weight of hundreds of endings, ideas, plot threads, character interactions, game mechanics, emotional beats, jokes, but also become the potential last hurrah for a company on the verge of bankruptcy. Is this seemingly never-ending visual novel meets tactics game an experience worth the commitment, or simply a time sink of derivative writing we've seen countless times before? The answer is I spent 200 hours playing this shit, so yeah, it better be good. Before we even start talking about the game itself, we need to talk about how this game even came to be. Kodaka, seemingly in his right mind, went up to Uchikoshi and his entire team of all-stars such as artist Rui Komatsuzaki and composer Masafumi Takada and said, you know, there are so many games out there right now, let's create something crazy. I want a game with 100 unique endings. Then Uchikoshi, definitely in his right mind, said, what the fuck are you talking about? Tokyo Games, the small studio of barely even a dozen people, had to take on the monumental task of creating an entirely original and dense IP, all with a tiny core development team, the threat of going under should this not perform well, and seemingly rapidly declining mental health. Taking out a loan and putting everything on the line to see his vision fulfilled? How can you not at least be somewhat interested in a game filled with this insane man's genuine passion? The 100 Line begins in the fairly mundane average way, where our main character Takumi Sumino is just going through the motions of life in the Tokyo residential complex. It's an enclosed dome where everyone is safe and everything is normal. They occasionally have to hide in underground bunkers when an alarm sounds, but it always blows over fairly quickly, and no one is ever hurt. Until they are, and Takumi has to stab himself to use magic blood powers to save his girlfriend. This isn't a spoiler, surprisingly this shit happens in like the first 10 minutes. All of a sudden, Takumi is whisked away to a place called Last Defense Academy along with 9 other students by this ghost robot thingy called Sire. And they learn that the monsters that have attacked their home are also on a mission to destroy their new base of operations. With their newfound powers, aptly called Hemo Anima, their group is tasked with defending Last Defense Academy for 100 days. What is Last Defense Academy and why have they specifically been chosen to defend it? Well, that's for you to find out. 100 Line story can be described in one word: unpredictable. For the longest time while I was playing this game, I thought I could understand where the plot was heading, only to have the rug pulled out from under me and get the entire notion of the world flipped on its head. There are an insane amount of twists and turns in the narrative that will keep you coming back for more until you feel like you found the answer you were looking for. And then it'll drop even more questions on you for good measure. I won't say it was all perfect though. Because of the length of this game, it suffers from a bit of a pacing issue. While I can remember all of the big revelations being hype and interesting moments when they happened, the time it might take you to get there is questionable. This is a good time to mention the gameplay loop as it serves as the structure for how this story is told. I'll dig into combat deeper in a bit, but mostly the game will follow the formula of having these prolonged story sections, making up the visual novel portion of the game, an unspecified amount of free time where you have the ability to explore in and outside the school and prepare for battles, and then a defensive battle where the tactics gameplay comes in. Sometimes this game can slow to a crawl when an extremely interesting development happens in the story section, but all of a sudden we've got loads of free time where we can't even discuss what has happened with the other characters. Guess I'll just have to give Yugamu his ball gag as we wait. As I'm writing this, I do realize in retrospect that this is a necessary evil since the player will need time for other things and possibly even need a break from the story. But I don't know, I thought it was worth mentioning. I do think it could have used some tweaking on when these free time events happened, because sometimes it feels like it really does grind the story to a screeching halt. And considering the kind of game this is, I expected it to break away from this formula, but for the most part, it inherently sticks to it. Just a minor complaint on my part, but something to keep in mind should you be interested in trying this game. While the story had a pretty good hook, the characters at first didn't appeal to me. But after playing this game, they are now one of the best casts Kodaka has written yet. You're introduced to 9 other main characters, all with varying personalities that range from pretty cool to downright annoying. Takemaru Yakushiji, the rough around the edges biker with a heart of gold. If you liked characters like Mondo Owada from Danganronpa, or Nenji Ogata from
Hey, no!
then you'll end up loving this guy. Always had something funny to say, and despite appearances, is the moral compass of the group. Shoma Genzaki, an extremely self-deprecating person who uses every and any opportunity to put himself down. At first I thought he was the most annoying fucking character, but he surprisingly has some of the most growth in the cast. Ima and Kako Tsukumo, a set of twins that seem to be joined at the hip, maybe even a bit too much. My interest in these two fluctuate quite a bit, but they benefit the most from the multiple endings this game provides. Their roles and personalities can change significantly depending on the choices you make. Eito Atsuki, a sickly and socially inept boy who just wants everyone to get along. Absolute favorite character right here. Intelligent, witty, and always there to lend everyone a hand. Eito is a real one. Hiriko Shizuhara, the cool and collected type with a dominating personality. If there's anything I've learned about myself over this past year, it's that I'm a sucker for a character that'll literally just kill me. But they'll do it with love. Hiriko falls squarely into that category. Gaku. Tsubasa Kawana, an overall normal mechanic who vomits when she gets nervous. She's low-key a plot device with the way she can fix anything and everything that's even remotely machine-related, but it's fine. She gets a pass for being a super down-to-earth character as well as being a cracked combat unit. We'll get to that in a minute. And
It's killing game time! Okay! Stabby stab stab! Here we go! Do it! Unalive yourself! Uh-oh! Dead already!
Darumi Amamiya. I think her appearance is all that needs to be said about her. She ended up being one of my favorite characters. With other characters that get introduced at a later point, this cast is the definition of a slow burn. They don't make a great first impression, but they all have this wonderful little thing called character development. The more time I spent getting to know these guys, the more sides I began to see in them, and in turn, they became characters I love to see on screen. In addition to the character writing, what 100 Line excels at is giving the player only a tiny bit of what's to come to entice them, and then rewarding those that stick through to the end. Whether that be with the characters or the story, if something intrigues you even a little, there will be some type of satisfying payoff. Now, I've been ignoring it up until this point, but there is a big ass elephant in the room, and that is the 100 endings. Skip to this timestamp if you don't even want to take the chance of being spoiled, as I will be talking about when these endings come into play in the grand scheme of things. I won't explicitly mention the ending itself, but the revelation of how the game opens up even surprised me, so I don't want to ruin it for anyone else. Still here? Okay. This game has a 40-hour prologue. When I mentioned being rewarded, I was really talking about the branching choices and endings the 100 Line presents. You spend the time that most RPGs or visual novels use to tell an entire story, just to even have the option for a real ending. Getting through the initial 100 days will not net you an ending, per se, but it will open up a flowchart instead. This flowchart is where you, as the player, can make choices to change the outcome of the story. Sometimes these are huge choices, like choosing which character to kill off, or seemingly more insignificant ones, like if you should eat fucking fish or meat. And each ending, while varying in quality and length, are pretty unique with different characters, scenarios, and writers at the forefront. Standout writers include Akihiro Togawa, who worked on Persona 5 Royal and Tactica. Ren Sudo, who I couldn't find concrete information on, but he seems to be a screenwriter for TV dramas as well as a filmmaker. He was responsible for 2 of the best routes in the game for me. Kyohei Oyama, a Tukio employee who I thought had an excellent handle on writing organic character interactions. He was able to shift my opinion on characters I thought were completely insufferable before. It just goes to show how varied the routes are in this game. Some endings might feature Shoma as a prominent character in a coming-of-age story, while others have the twins take the lead in a psychological thriller. It's where the true depth of these characters lie as we get to see them in all sorts of wild situations and unlikely relationships.
Whatever you talked about with her, however you felt about her, whatever kind of relationship the 2 of you had, none of that applies to me. None of it gave you any right to lie to me.
Huh? Yum?
Takumi, you look tasty. Let me eat you.
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
While it is not required to see every ending, you're most likely going to want to. Kodaka has stated that each ending was written in a way that any player navigating towards it for the first time will feel satisfied, and they could even be considered a true ending if they so wish. Unfortunately, I cannot attest to this, as while yes, the first ending I reached was enjoyable, there turned out to be even more interesting and satisfying alternatives as I delved deeper. Depending on how much you truly want to get out of this game, you could be playing for way longer than the estimated 70-hour playtime. It's inevitable considering the scope of this game, but playing through can be very, very repetitive. Even though I encourage playing as much as you can, since almost everything is worth experiencing even once, if you have a job, friends, family, God forbid, a wife and kids, just know that this will either take you an extremely long time to finish, or you just will not be seeing them for a month.
For if by some minute chance you meet the challenge, your reward will be great. Behold! Whoopsie. Now behold, my beloved home of Atlantis, a prize worthy of Apollo.
Now let's talk combat. When you're not engrossed by the story or playing with the light social sim aspects of free time, 100 Line shifts to a surprisingly snappy and intuitive tactics game. Whenever the school invaders attack, the students of Last Defense Academy, named the Special Defense Unit, transform for battle and try to ward the invaders off in waves. We have to protect the barrier to the school, and should it get destroyed, we get destroyed. It's kind of like a tower defense game, but instead of defense, it's much more like offense, since the tools you're given are absolutely ridiculous. Firstly, we utilize action points, or AP, to determine how many times we're able to move units around. It varies by map, but usually you'll be looking at around 4 AP to start. Killing the larger unique enemies will net you 1 AP, so the name of the game is being able to maximize the amount of AP per turn by strategically choosing which enemy or groups of enemies your units will attack. With the fatigue system implemented on top of this, your decisions end up being even more crucial. Because of fatigue, units you use will have their movement cut to 1 after their first action. But with the right setup, you'll be able to clear waves before the enemies even get a chance to approach. Each character has a unique set of 3 moves that range from regular attacks, utilizing status effects, or supportive abilities. All moves have different areas of effect as well. When combined with the enemy positioning, 100 Lines gameplay has a bit of a puzzle aspect to it. Sometimes the invaders will be lined up perfectly for a big AoE attack. Other times you'll need to pick off 1 or 2 of them to make the bigger moves connect. Every character also comes with their own personal skills called specialist skills. These give each unit their own unique attributes that should influence the way you utilize them in battle. Some are completely absurd, like Tsubasa's, who just ignores the fatigue status entirely, but for the most part they all give buffs such as an added 1 or 2 attack under specific conditions, or armor based on your movement. Lastly, we have the voltage meter, which will give your side various bonuses. Killing enemies will increase the amount of voltage you gain, which can be used for big flashy special attacks, permanent stat buffs for the duration of the map, or the ability to cure fatigue and gain 1 AP. The voltage bar will be your best friend, so make sure you're always utilizing it to secure devastating one-sided victories. As you upgrade your characters further, you'll gain access to more options like Early Strike, a preemptive attack on the beginning of the player phase, Unyielding Spirit, an attack buff for when you're low on HP, and my absolute favorite, Last Yell. Last Yell will give the unit who has it activated a 50% chance to add 2 attack and double the voltage gain to anyone attacking with 1 AP. It was a bit tricky to understand its use case at first, but once I learned it's stacked, I had to give it a try. So what would happen if we juiced everybody up with Last Yell and had a unit who can't get fatigued, had good movement, and one of the best AoE attacks in the game? Tsubasa. Tsubasa would happen.
Keep it coming! Leave it to me! I'm on it! Let's roll! We did it!
We better get moving. Going fast.
Ready when you are! Out of the way! Let's keep it up! I'm taking the wheel! Watch out! Locked and loaded! Fighting spirit! I'm on it! Take this! We did it!
Is that all you
don't
got?
give up! I'm on it! Ah! Let's keep it up! I'm taking the wheel! I'm good whenever!
Is that all you got?
I'm on it! Let's roll! We did it! Ah!
Another one.
We did it! I'm taking the wheel! Don't try to stop!
Another one.
Let's keep it up! Ah!
Another one.
Take
Another one.
ah!
Another one.
I'm taking the wheel!
So we just have to watch this?
Well,
This is the only way! Sorry, everyone! Oh man, this is so easy! I don't even want to throw up like I usually do.
Not even a little?
I tried dry heaving, but I just coughed up an old scrap of food.
But should you come up short with defeating everything, the invaders will move forward and then attack anything in range. Sometimes it can result in heavy damage on your side, but this is where one of the coolest mechanics of battle comes into play: last resorts and nice kills. So you know how in most video games you don't want your characters to die? Because death is like not a good thing? This game actually encourages it, and it's amazing. In 100 Line Story, they have this thing called the Revive-O-Matic, which will revive our characters anytime they die on school grounds through the use of their special blood, Hemo Anima. What this means for us as the player is we don't have to worry about permanently losing characters in battle. Should there be more than one wave, all dead party members rejoin in the next fight. When a unit is at half or less HP, they can use an attack called a Last Resort, which is essentially using their super moves for no voltage cost. They'll exit the fight and instead give us 100% voltage gain, which translates into more supers, more buffs, and can just absolutely spiral out of control. Dying in battle is displayed as a nice kill in the results screen, giving you a slight increase to your overall score and BP. the currency used to upgrade your characters. Even though this is Tukio's first time attempting a tactics game, at least to my knowledge, 100 Line comes with an impressive set of mechanics that anyone can sink their teeth into. Having your unit's death actually become a part of your strategy I just found very unique and fun to play around. This game rewards those who are aggressive, and really rewards those who will put everything on the line. The battle system offers a different take on what a tactics game can be. It felt exhilarating being able to find unconventional and absurd ways to break this game without the fear of a mistake being the end of an hour-long map. Death itself becomes yet another tool to leverage and lets you press the attack even further. It gives a level of freedom that frankly I never realized wasn't there with other games I've played in the past. My only complaint with the gameplay is that it can plateau pretty quickly once you're familiar with the game systems and end up becoming way too easy from the beginning to the end. And I'm not saying this to brag about being a true gamer, TM, but I got an S rank on literally every map. I also wish there was more terrain or map variety with these stages. We have characters with the ability to fly, ones with vehicles with crazy movement, but it doesn't really amount to much when every stage is just flat ground. With battle items becoming a factor pretty early on as well, you're almost guaranteed an easy time with every map. We've got stuff that'll give attack, defense, and movement buffs. Materials you can put down to obstruct enemy movement, a potion that heals someone to full, and one that takes them down to 1 HP. And all of these things replenish after every fight. There's literally no reason to not use them all up. So if you're afraid this combat might be too difficult if you're not used to tactics games, don't be. And if you are used to tactics games and we're hoping this one will be a new challenge, temper your expectations. Regardless, I still had a blast with the combat, and I hope they iterate on this in the company's future endeavors. The 100 Line Last Defense Academy is a game that frankly shouldn't exist. The gigantic scope, amount of unique artwork, which is gorgeous by the way. Can we take a second to appreciate the artist Ruri Komatsuzaki for having to draw so much for this project? I read an interview that said he wants to retire after this project, and I don't blame him. Also, the music is insane. I didn't know where to slot this in, but just something you should know, the soundtrack is insane. So if you like good music, look forward to that with this game. But anyway, this game is huge and has so many ideas going into it, so many moving parts that trying to make sense of it all can legitimately give you a headache. And yet, it was a project that was still able to be made by people who were devoted to seeing a crazy idea through to the end. And once I completed this game, I sat there thinking about the amount of insane effort and stubbornness they had to channel into making this a reality. The YouTube channel Archipel released a short documentary discussing 100 Line's development, and Kodaka's comments really cemented this game as something truly special. Right now, AI is becoming more and more prevalent not only in our everyday lives, but also in the art world. Whether it be through commercial art, games, or even films, while AI can be a tool to help enhance their production, they can easily be misused to become a replacement in the creative process. So what better time to create a game, one so huge that you'd almost expect AI to assist in its creation, than right now? In this same video, Uchikoshi states, "In the future, AI will most likely become an inherent part of game production. From the story to graphics, everything in this title is man-made. In game history, it might end up being one of the last games that size made without the use of AI. I feel a lot of pride and confidence that I got to work on this game." So, is the 100 Line Last Defense Academy worth your time? As a truly one-of-a-kind, most likely to never be replicated game, I'd say yes. It's an experience you won't get with any of Kodaka's other works, even with the visual similarities. But just know that this isn't the kind of game you can just pick up and play. It's not the kind of game you'll be able to beat over the course of a weekend. It might not even be able to be beaten over the course of a week. This game will require you to be present. It will string you along with an insane narrative. And as for when the ride ends, that will be up for you to decide. But I do know you should subscribe.